it can remind you of your good service. But if you would like to wear it, you can wear it around, or you can hang it on your front door. And there are many places to place this.
Looks like
But
a good target.
No, that is not a good place for it. It's made of the finest crystal that I could find on the internet. So, on behalf of the city council and the citizens here of Tokerville, thank you. And I want to give that to you there.
Thank you. Fine crystal. All right. Thank you very much. I'll put that on my wife's tree.
Better ask her permission
and
if you
wait
call
a
it
minute,
your wife's tree.
This goes with it?
It does it. I'm telling you, it's high class. That is, it'll keep it from being scratched unintentionally.
He collected $300 from each of us for it.
Wow. Receipt.
I wonder what he did with that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I just have to say too, since it's opening comments and it's assigned by the mayor, I'll find myself to say something. I've really had a great 4 years. I've enjoyed working with these gentlemen and the staff here at the city. I think we are at this point prepared to dive off the cliff into what we're diving off into right now. We appreciate everything everybody has done, including the developers and those who are looking to move here. I maintain Tokerville is the center of the universe. I always will. I think it's a beautiful place, and I hope it remains that way. And I think it is in very good hands at this point. So, thank you very much. All right. Moving right along then. Any statements of belief from anyone in the audience? Okay. We need to look at the agenda order.
Mayor, I'd like to make one modification.
Okay.
I'd like to move item G5 up to the beginning. Do that in
G5,
item one.
Tokerville Parkway bid.
Yep.
Move to the beginning and discussion on that.
A second.
Okay. Any other changes or modifications to the agenda for tonight? All right, then we have a motion and a second to move item G5 to item G1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move it up. Okay. Any conflicts of interest tonight from any of the council members? All right. Meeting minutes for November 3rd, work meeting, November 10th, special business meeting, and November 17th, business meeting. Everybody look those minutes over.
I have, Mayor, I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? These minutes stand approved then. City expenditures for November 2021.
I've looked those over, Mayor. I don't see any discrepancies or anything that is of concern, so I move we approve.
Second motion, Mayor.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I saw an expense on there for modifying the general plan, and I don't know what it was about, what was modified.
So it actually hasn't been modified. What it is, so we look for U.TPA, Chemical Planning Systems Grant. That will be awarded in the spring. If we get that, the city would commit 9,500 funds to for the grant to update the general plan. That's only if we get the grant, and that's not until the spring. It won't be awarded until the spring. So there wasn't an actual expenditure, it was just an authorization.
It was an authorization, because I saw it as an expense that was paid, I thought.
No, the 9,500.
I believe so, yes. Okay. No, I just didn't know why it was updated and why the city council didn't know anything about it if we don't know anything about it, unless I'm missing something. No, I can probably come in tomorrow and figure out what it is with you. Would that work, Dana?
That way we can check it out and approve it, now we don't have to go back and fix it.
Turn on those TVs.
Yes.
So when I look at the expenditures, we don't see anything we updated capital facilities, the storm,
Which would be through, yes.
that's what that would come through Alpha.
That was for with
Yeah, they
Alpha?
went for capital facilities, not for general fund, so that has to be, yes, so that is to update our capital facilities. Our Park Street.
That's on November then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm ready to vote.
Any other
Roll call, Mayor.
discussion? Have a motion?
You had a motion, a second, you need a roll
All
call.
right.
Aye.
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 Yeah. Okay. Stands approved. We will open it now to a public forum. Anyone who would like to address the city council tonight on any issues that are not on our exhaustive agenda tonight are welcome to address the city council at this time. If you'd limit it to 3 minutes and give us your name and your address, we'd love to hear from you. Anyone? Okay. All right, we'll go then to a presentation, excuse me, 21 fiscal year audit report by Hit and Burdick CPAs and advisors, audit prepared by Keddington and Christensen.
Maybe your right hand. Okay. Well, since you have an exhaustive, I will be as quick as possible. So every year you have an audit. That's something that happens every year. The reason for the audit is financial compliance and spending, as well as internal controls. Keddington Christensen from Salt Lake does that audit for you. The audit went well. We were able to provide all the information they asked for. So the two things of note were they call them two findings. So the first one is you have too much money saved in your general fund. So the way that works is they take your budget and they say you can only save up to 35%. So for you, you can only save just under 500,000. That's this 497,266.
35%?
Yes, I do believe it went up from, it used to be 25. Now it's 35. So they're learning. So that has been a finding for a couple of years. However, one of the big things I think that happened for us this year is we did have some hiring that didn't happen that we wanted to happen. So we were running a little shorter staff than we expected, bringing our expenses down from where we were projected, as well as we were unsure what revenue was going to look like during this period with COVID from, because this is July of 20 through July of 21. June of 21. So I think both of that factored into that balance being over. We have a reporting requirement to the state called, to the Money Management Council, called your deposit and investment report. And a couple of those numbers that were input on that report were wrong. And so there was a finding on that. That's not a big deal. It's something we can correct. We file that in December and June of every year. It wasn't a substantial difference. It was just noted it was a difference. So those are your two items of note. You are still issued what they call a clean opinion or an unmodified opinion, which means there's no room for concern. So we'll go to the graphs. Okay, so these graphs are just talking about the financial stability of Tokerville. So this first one is your general fund. So the dark blue line at the top is your total assets. The lighter blue one in the middle is your fund balance. So that would be what we discussed about that excess fund balance. This is your total fund balance. So there's a difference between your total fund balance and your excess. You can have restricted funds. You have restricted funds for things like bond covenants, and for special projects like restricted funds for roads and things like that in your general fund. The last one is your liabilities and deferred outflows. So those are things like your retirement as well as your bonds and debts. The next one is your cash trend. So the blue line at the top is your total cash, and then the pink long line below it is your unrestricted cash. So that is trending up from year to year. Your operating revenues and expenses, and this is specific to the water fund. This is a great trend to have right here. So the top line is your operating expenses, and your bottom line is your operating revenues. So in the past, expenses over revenue is a bad thing, and you're seeing that line come together, and expenses are only slightly higher than your revenue. So those changes in your water rates are making an effect. You're allocating wages and things appropriately to where they're being used, and that is helping to bring that difference together. This next one talks about specifically the cash flows. So the difference between the original graph of income and expenses to cash flows is depreciation. So the difference here is just depreciation. So you're not able to fully fund your depreciation, but you're getting closer to doing so. And then your cash trend.
14 is how a little that we're shy of funding it. That's one of my areas. So
You rocked it. That is significant improvement.
that's awesome though, because we've been short like $100,000 every year. So that's pretty cool.
96,000 last year.
Awesome.
So the last one is your Waterfront cash trend. So your line at the top is total cash, and the line underneath is unrestricted. So you are growing that restricted fund balance to do projects and things like that. Do you guys have particular questions? Any other concerns? This is a really fat book. You can look at it anytime you want. I'm happy to explain it more, but you guys have a full schedule today.
It's the only good one.
Uh,
I know.
So, just a quick question here. You know, we've got too much money in the bank. If that continues, are we like in trouble?
You'll get a finding every year, but I've not seen not that I'm aware of. No.
Typically what we've done, Mayor, is when we've had this finding, and this is, almost $500,000 now, we try to figure out a way to spend that down to about 250,000 in the year. So when we do our budgets, we'll allocate projects that will specifically use some of that so that we get that back in line.
Great.
I have some street and water projects I'll be looking for.
There might be some product.
He did a fundraiser.
$90,000.
Fundraiser.
Oh, I did that. I still don't know.
All right.
Any questions for Kim?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank-
guys.
Appreciate all of your hard work and your help with us. You do a great job for us.
Candace, 6 minutes, 49 seconds.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can keep the trend. All right, public hearing at this time. Let's see, we need a motion to open this public hearing.
You don't have to have a motion, Mayor, but if you
Okay.
want one, you can.
No, let's just open the public hearing right here, right now. 2 items on the public hearing. Number 1, public input is sought on funding from the Utah Permanent Community Impact Fund Board, CIB. Somebody gonna?
Yeah, Yeah, these two items.
Does she need to be at the microphone?
Right, yeah, we talked about those. So these two items can basically run together. What we're doing is we haven't, obviously, we're just seeking public input. Some of the options that we're looking at, obviously, is the CIB fund and then also a CDBG grant. So those are two different types of funding. The CIB, the Community Impact Fund Board, that one is tied to the federal mining, the lease, or the federal mineral lease account. And so some of it is grants, some of it's loans. What we're looking at is we're looking at the capital facilities plan, and we're trying to establish where the deficiencies are and then move forward through that to start addressing those, some with the fund, but also if we can get, grants or funding from other places. We're looking into that. So this first one right here, we're just seeking public input, part of the process. We're not making a decision. It's not even a guarantee that we will apply for these. But one of the boxes we have to check is to say that we have sought community input, right? And these are both done by 5 counties. So if these two items can run together and we can take public input on both of these. The community development block grant is a little bit different. We're actually going to watch a little 3-minute video about this one. This one is for low to moderate income, but to do different infrastructure. So we'll watch this little thing and then I'll just tell you real quick a few more things and then we'll do public input. Should be sound.
I'd be better with me, Sam.
I did watch it. Her name is Cheryl. So I'll just tell you, so on the, she can see if she can get it going, but on the community development block grant, that one is for to improve standard of living for low to moderate income. So that one is just a grant that you can get, and if you can qualify, it's through 5 County Association of Government. And we've been to the meetings for that. Dana's been to it. I did the training as well. And so that one has to be specific areas of your city. And we actually have a list of projects that they've approved in the past so people can get an idea. But again, one of the boxes we have to check is that we've sought public input. And just if you just type in, yes, I think if you just type in CDBG Utah, it should show up. Yeah, it should be right there. First one. And then if you just it should go right there.
Program manager for the Community Development Block Grant Program here with the State of Utah Department of Workforce Services. The Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program, commonly known as CDBG, is a federally funded program through the Department of Housing and Urban Development that's given to all 50 states around the country. The Utah CDBG program began in 1982 with the primary goal of supporting communities by providing 3 things: decent housing, a suitable living environment, and expanding economic opportunities for those persons that are low and moderate income. The Utah CDBG program is unique in that there are 7 association of governments that choose which projects are going to be happening in their region. So the needs in southern Utah may be different than the needs in the northern regions of the state. So the projects in each of these regions are rated and ranked against one another to make sure that the very best projects that meet the needs of each region rise to the top and are funded. Cities less than 50,000 and counties less than 200,000 are eligible to apply for funding to do projects in their regions. Nonprofits and special service districts can apply, but they have to be sponsored through a city or county. Many different projects are eligible for funding through the CDBG program. That's what makes it an excellent program. While water and sewer projects and other infrastructure projects tend to be the most popular, we also fund projects such as senior centers, community centers, food banks, and fire station. Probably the most important thing I would like people to know about the CDBG program is that in its 35-year history, it has done a lot of good to help the rural communities around the state. And we have been very good stewards of those federal tax dollars to make sure we get the most bang for our buck. It's important that each of the cities that receive CDBG funds tell their story to our international delegations so that the people back in Washington understand that their money is being well spent. For more information about the CDBG program, cities or counties should contact their regional association of governments representatives, and they can get information about our annual How to Apply workshops that happen in October and November each year.
So that's just kind of an overview of it. So, we have lots of water projects that we've looked into. So if we can get this grant, if you do it area specific, the limit that they'll give you for an area specific in your city is 200,000. If it benefits the entire community, it's up to 300. But it is straight grant funding. So over the CDBG is something I would like to look into. We've already been to the workshop. It's something that we'd like to look into to fund some of the water projects, maybe some of the things on capital facilities that can benefit the community. So, but one of the boxes we have to check is public input. So if anybody's got any, we're ready.
Okay.
I'm just a broken record with grants and government money. So Jake Peart, 1661 South Chaparral Drive. Don't take it. Don't believe in grants and government money.
Anyone else? Okay. We will then move out of the public hearing and on to the general business portion of our meeting. I am glad for one to hear that CDBG doesn't have anything to do with marijuana. Okay, business number 1 is actually number 5, discussion of possible action to award Toperville Parkway bid.
Mayor, I'll take this item. So council is aware we bid out Toperville Parkway on December 9th. We received five bids on that. We just got the certified bid tab back from Stanley Consulting, Bob Lamro, and he's prepared. That's what's sitting in front of you. So the full breakdown is in the email we got it this evening. So it'll be dispersed out so council can review that. The apparent low bid was William Charles Construction at $18,590,084.60. So, and then there was 5 bids. Like I said, they ranged from 18.5 to 21.5. So I think there's $3 million on a $20 million project. It's pretty good, pretty tight bidding. $460,000 between low and second. Lance, do you wish you had that 460 or are you good? You're good. Perfect.
More than general fund, right?
Yeah. No. One of those lines. Yeah. So anyways, council, we have, as you're well aware, we received 17 million. Actually, we haven't received yet. We're going to receive $17,950,000 from the state of Utah. That's coming to us. We provided that information, and they're wiring that in. It's supposed to transfer. I think we've got confirmation that it's coming. We just haven't seen it hit the account yet. Of that money, we have to separate out some funds for that. So we had to take $4 million out to set aside for Phase B, $2 million out of that for professional services, which pays for Stanley Consulting, Landmark for the testing for those items. And then we have requested and prepared a bill, an invoice that we're sending to Firelight for the remainder, which is $5,794,373.60. And so I'd like to make motion that we approve and award this contract, but I need it to be contingent upon funds being deposited in our account. So those need to be available. So I think if we awarded this and made it contingent upon those funds being validated within the next 10 days, we could move forward with getting this into process. Any questions on it?
So you're suggesting that we go with the lowest bid?
Yes, lowest responsible bid. They've been evaluated. Stanley did a review on it. We did a review on it. It's a good bid.
Ty, would you like to give a little bit of background on William Charles Construction?
So, I mean, I can give you a little bit. Lance is here. Lance is the vice president. They're based out of, well, they're based out of Illinois, but their office here is in St. George. They're out in Fort Pierce. They built Bluff Street, did the reconstruction on Bluff Street. They built the bridge over the Virgin River on I-15. Locally, they did the Tooele reconstruction project, and then, projects.
Bridge.
No. Bridge over South Bluff.
Oh, okay.
So they rebuilt Bluff, and then they built the bridge over the Virgin River on I-15 there between St. George and Bloomington. So they've been here, they've done a ton of work, and they just barely finished the Southern Parkway, Highway 7. So, obviously a very competent contractor. They've been around a long time. All of these guys actually are. It's super comfortable awarding that bid to them. Anything else? So it is not. So this starts at the north end, ties in up at the top, and it comes all the way down into Shangri-La. It stops at Shangri-La Drive. The reason being is we have a Clomar permit we're waiting for it to have it back. I should have come with an update. I'm looking at YouTube because you should know, but. Okay, so we're anticipating bidding that out in late January, February, so that we can award that contract and move forward with that. So we have bid schedule A, which is this one, and bid schedule B. That's the reason we're holding $4 million out of that 17.9, so that we have money allocated to take care of the Hogsback and the bridge. So that's the purpose for that. Any other questions? One thing with that, Chuck, just so you're aware, this does include the water line reroute off the Hogsback. So we'll have that all tied in so that we have the loop for Tocqueville Heights will be completed in this phase as well. That's why we went down to Shangri-La. Any questions? Okay, so Mayor, I'd make motion that we approve and award the contract for William Charles Construction in the amount of $18,590,084.60, contingent upon our financing being, what would be the right word there, Heath?
Funds in our possession.
There you go. With that, which we anticipate having complete within the next 10 days.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? I just have one thing I want to say.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Hey, I've got the gavel.
I know you're in charge. You're in charge.
No, I just want to say that this is, I thought it was probably 20 years in the making. But in actuality, what was the date on that UDOT document that you?
1969.
1969, there was a proposal by UDOT to move the road. And as it turns out, the proposal that the city gave back to Utah is almost identical to the route that we're actually going through now. So it's a long time coming. And I think this is a historic thing, and I am pleased to be here for this opportunity. With that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Oh, wait a minute. We got a roll call.
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks to Ty and Kim both for their hard work.
Great job. Okay, item number 1, then, discussion and possible action on 2021 fiscal year audit report by Hinton Burdick and Audit and Advisors. Audit presented by Keddington and Christensen.
Oh, good. Mayor, I'd like to motion that we approve item G1, sorry, and approve our audit for the year.
I'd second the motion, Mayor.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Number 2, discussion and possible action on zone change application submitted by Firelight Development for tax ID T3295-A-1, current zoning MU20, multiple use, zoned to R120, single family residential. Planning Commission recommended it unanimously.
So there was another mention of T3295-B. suggesting that it should be included in this as well. It was on the staff report. So I don't know if we're missing something there.
I thought there was.
T 3295-B should be the second part of
Dash
it.
B-1. Okay,
There's no -1, I think, there's just -B. So we can reference,
okay, we okay to include that then?
It was on our business.
It was.
Work meeting.
It was on our discussion 2 weeks ago.
We have a copy of the draft ordinance with the proper parcel numbers, both of them listed, attached.
And right there.
it was on the application.
It's there. It's there, okay. Yeah, yeah.
There is no draft ordinance in our packet docs, but
Okay. And the application was uploaded to the Public Notice website. We've got adequate notice now.
So we probably need a motion then with that
Mayor, I'd move
included.
that we approve G2 for tax ID number T3-3295-A-1 and -B. That cover it?
Excellent.
I
Okay,
second.
have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, discussion of possible action on ordinance, zone change for Firelight Development for tax ID T 3295-A. Do we need to include -B in this one also?
I think so. I think this is the actual ordinance, so I think there is an ordinance that we drafted for this, but it just needs to include, and I'm looking at it now to see if it
Includes it.
it does have a body parcel.
It looks fine. It's got both of them
Oh, both? Okay.
on the front of it.
That's good. It's all there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Southwest corner of typical jurisdiction.
Previously zoned ME20. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. We describe what zone it has been, what zone it's being rezoned to. We reference it. It's described more fully in the exhibit. So, it's completely fine.
So since this is part of
I would,
yeah,
I would
additional motion, do
I would only say that probably we can combine in the future. We don't do two separate
Right.
action items, one to approve the zone change, one to approve the ordinance. It's approving the zone change, which concludes in authorizing the mayor to execute the ordinance. Effectuates the zone change.
So we don't need a motion on this one?
Let's do it because we
Yeah,
noticed it
we're
separately and
We're here, let's do it.
motion to approve the ordinance.
With the second parcel.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's in there.
-B.
It's in there.
Do I need a motion? We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries then. Item number 4, discussion of possible action on conceptual master plan development overlay application submitted by Firelight Development for a 1,749 acre development located on the west side of Tocqueville between I-15 and the new Tocqueville Parkway bypass road.
So just real quick, I know I'm getting a little picky here, but it says between I-15 and it's on both sides of the bypass road. Do we need to specify that? I mean, the bypass road bisects this, so I don't want to, there is a between
Yeah.
in there, so. Does that?
Make a motion, you can
I'm sure it's fine, I'm
Yeah,
getting picky there, so.
No, the proposed
The way I read
That
that, it
they
says
have
I-15 and everything between I-15 and the bypass road, but nothing on the east side of the bypass road.
Right, but the
That's-
plan that they have presented to us so far
Right.
doesn't have anything on the east side, or the west side.
Yeah, but we just did a zone change,
Right.
but, okay.
Yeah.
It's
It
got,
has some
yeah,
on-
it's on both sides. of
For the
bypass.
MPDO.
Okay.
Yeah.
The MPDO is, you're right.
I just don't wanna, yeah, you know, it's just it's kind of a, that's all. Didn't think you.
Well, that's,
I'm
it
good.
probably ought to be spelled out somewhere.
Yeah, we got this at our work meeting 2 weeks ago, and there's a lot to digest there on 32 pages. And there are some things that I need to work out in my head with respect to the resort recreation area. And also, I don't know if anything got resolved with the comments that were made by Dan Catlin during the work meeting either. If there was a meeting to deal with those issues that he brought up. And I would move that we table this.
Well, I think most of the stuff that Dan brought up, the road size and a few things it was covered by private drive. It wasn't a city road. So most of that stuff that was in there was dealt with the MPDO, where say it's a private drive, not a city road, they could do smaller roads and do certain things. Kyle, we talked about that. I'm pretty sure that was.
Well, on that particular item, the staff recommended we go to 32 feet instead of 30. And I don't know if there was ever a change if we followed that staff recommendation or not. But there were a lot of things with respect to the ordinances that we have on lot dimensions versus what they're proposing now. And so do we allow those property lines to be changed and they're non-compliant with the ordinances, or do we change the agreement to show that it's in compliance with the city ordinances? And so there were several items that were pointed out that were not in compliance with the city ordinance, and I don't know if anything got resolved on that. And that's just one of my concerns where I'm asking for more time.
Can I just make a couple comments? My biggest concern was where it put the document itself over the ordinances in the language it used. On the private drives, I think there should be something in there requiring it be approved by the public safety. So their equipment can be sure and get in and out if they're doing narrower roads. There are a number of items in there. So the setback. My biggest issue was where it was saying that it's going to be decided by that document rather than by what the existing ordinances are. So, and I don't think you can approve a document like that.
Thank you, Dan. So I have some questions for Heath, if I could. So my understanding is this is the master plan development overlay, right? So that's the MP or is right. And so that's just phase one. Then the next step is a development agreement. And that's where we get into the specific details about the development. Is that right?
Well, yeah, so I would suggest, like what we've done with the Lowe's, that if we are amending the NPDO that was previously had for this property, we probably need to amend the development agreement that's recorded against the property to reflect that.
Okay, so that was my question. Is it possible to go forward with this, make this contingent upon the approval by the city council of a development agreement that would be coming down the road? Is that a possibility? Procedurally, that is.
Yeah, it can be done. It's not ideal because normally you need to see the development agreement and the conceptual master plan and see that they integrate and represent each other. So there should be a development agreement with the conceptual master plan.
So I guess that goes to that question, because if our approval, or if we were to approve this today, and I don't know that we will, but if we were to approve it, but we make the approval conditioned on also approving a development agreement, and then we later decide some of the things that are requested in the development agreement we're not comfortable with, and we don't approve it, then it makes this approval here meaningless, right? Because one is conditioned on the other.
I think it's tougher to negotiate a change in the development agreement when it's conceptually agreed upon to begin with. And so I don't want to basically go back to the table and start negotiating again if there are some issues conceptually with it. We've waited since the 1960s. What's another month? And I don't know if you guys are prepared, but I'm not prepared to make a vote on it tonight.
So I have one other question.
We want to hear.
Oh.
No, go ahead. You're first. Go ahead.
What Mr. Catlin was talking about, can we have an MPDO that says, if there's a conflict with the city ordinances and the MPDO, the terms of the MPDO will govern? Is that possible, or is that not possible?
Yeah, that was one of the. That's what the MPDO states in the MPDO.
Okay, so, and that's what I understand. That the reason I ask this, because I want to make sure Mr. Kettman is on the same page, that we can make those adoptions, because basically we're amending it now, right? We're making those.
It's an MPDO zone is like a hybrid, and you can have variations, different standards that would come out of any of our zones as long as they work in a cohesive manner.
Okay.
So that's where you're going to have a tough problem in an MPDO zone if you don't say that the conditions or the requirements as modified by a development agreement controls, because you're always going to find conflict between uses and sizes of structures, roads, and stuff like that.
And that's why we have development agreements, so you can have bonuses, and you can cluster densities and so forth. Okay.
So what we're hopeful is that this is, again, a step in a process to allow us to go to a development agreement discussion or draft. I'll say that as an easier word to handle. Mr. Catlin also brought up some good, thoughts and some concerns on, what we were proposing versus what is currently on your books as far as your ordinances. There is also an opportunity within the ordinance to do what is called a variance, as long as, but then again, it still goes through a process of approval, i.e. staff, planning commission, city council, public hearing. So it still goes through an entire process to make sure that anything that may be proposed or presented that's outside has a process. And at the end of the process, it could still be denied, but it does have a process to follow. And I think that's important to add to our discussion tonight. If there's anything outside of current ordinances or current ordinances, then there is a process that we must go through in order to make it work. At the end of the day, Firelight, we will adhere, to Tocqueville's ordinances and guidelines and policies. I mean, that's just what we do. Because we know it's a long-term partnership. We know, like I said, we'll be up here, for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So we understand that as an opportunity, but we also understand that within the MPDO, it does give some flexibility. It's kind of a loose word in the document to do some creative things, to do some things that's maybe not traditionally looked at, depending on where it's at, where it's located, and what the designs are. So that's one side of the discussion that we need to have. And then the other side, obviously, that we'll talk to, if we have a chance to talk through, is how we handle the request for density bonuses. Because of Mr. Catlin's comments, we've dug deeper. There's certain things that we feel comfortable with. So obviously, ultimately, the max bonus you can get is 30%. We feel pretty good with about 20%. With some of the certain things that's required as far as levels of service. We are just looking for consideration to kind of make up, if there is a possibility, the final 10% to get a maximum bonus, which is 30%. So again, that's part of a discussion maybe that Councilman Chad was talking about as well. We weren't sure after our last meeting what was our next steps other than coming to this meeting. So again, we are open to move forward. We're not going anywhere, but we do want to, move the needle a little bit and get some guidance from
So
you
that's-
elected officials.
You brought up another good question, and I defer to your advice here. So he talks about the variances, right? And under our code, we have this system where there's a whole variance board that's entirely right. And so if there is a change that requires a variance, does that have to go before that board, or does it not have to go before the board if we agree to it
Well,
here?
one of the things in state law and in our ordinance, which mirrors it, regarding variances, is that the appeal authority cannot grant a land use variance. What we're doing by approving a MPDO zone is we are granting a variance for land uses or mixing them as hybrids. The whole concept I was reading, I was scrolling through the MPDO zone. The master plan development overlay zone is intended to provide an alternative to the conventional zoning and land development approaches. It talks about further down that
Interpretation.
under interpretation that that our conventional standards and specifications for public improvements can be modified in an MPDO zone. So, it's meant to be promote efficiency, good planning and land uses, which doesn't necessarily fit into the rubric of our standard R120 zone or any of our other residential zones.
So just for background information, I reached out to Mr. Wu last week, I believe it was, and requested a draft of the development agreement so we could compare them side by side, which it would be great to have, but I don't know that we have to have it. It wasn't ready yet. Their perspectives, they want to see how we adopt or what type of.
What direction you give us from the documents we've submitted thus far? Correct.
That's why there's not one with it. I would have expected, and that's why I emailed them, say, hey, well, send me a copy that I want to review that at the same time. And but they don't have it yet, and I understand that. I can see we're waiting to see what our direction is on the MPDO, what that means, and how that might affect the way they draft ultimately the development agreement. So anyway, those are my thoughts with it. If we were going to adopt anything today, I would highly recommend that we make it subject to the approval of a development agreement. That way we aren't really, we're not committing ourselves to anything. All we're doing is giving them direction. And then if we don't like what they provide in the development agreement, we just don't approve that. I think it would be disingenuous to go back and say, wait a minute, you approved the MPDO, so we want to go for this direction. The answer to that is no, we made the approval subject to the development agreement. So I don't think that would be a concern, but those are just my thoughts.
And this might be a matter of clarity for myself. I think the process was to look at conceptually first. And then the next process, according to what I've read, they started crafting a development agreement specifically. Again, maybe I'm misunderstood.
I have a couple comments on that too. So I had the same question that came before planning commission about the different sizes of lots and variances, like everything. And I think there was an email that I sent to Heath, don't quote me on that, but the language that you're pre-finding now, this says the same thing. This is a conceptual idea with conceptual numbers, conceptual everything that will come back, so that this is the next gate to go to the development agreement. So the development agreement is worked on between city council and the applicant, not the planning commission. The last time we did this, the development agreement was the key to the whole MPDO, which was done before the MPDO because we had other issues going. So this was a simultaneous document that worked seamlessly. This way that they're doing it is they're following the code as it's supposed to
Typical way to do
A,
it.
B, C, D. And so the conceptual comes in, they approve it, and he might tell me I'm wrong, but conceptual comes in, and then they get the next step, and then you guys work out the details. If we have to amend the MPDO, then that's not that hard to do. And as the development agreement is done, that's how I read the code. And then as the preliminary comes in, that's where we really see the numbers. That's where we see the setbacks. That's where we see the road widths. That's where we get a chance.
The preliminary, you mean the
Every phase.
Each
Okay.
phase has a
But
preliminary
should-
plat.
Okay.
Just like a
Right.
subdivision,
Okay.
conceptual, preliminary, final construction.
So not all of that will be laid out in the development agreement.
Oh, no. On a development by development, I mean, you can imagine it's over 700 acres. It'd be a bunch
That's why
of
it's
different-
conceptual, because 10 years is going to change.
You know,
Oh, I see.
I'm going to fall back and kind of throw my predecessor under the bus. I did not draft this ordinance. And I've always struggled with the differences between the conceptual and the preliminary approval. I think those should be essentially blended. And so, essentially, that's what we did in the context of the Lowe's. So I think that's where you guys are a little bit more familiar with. Ultimately, once the master plan is given, what we want to call it, conceptual or preliminary approval, that should be finalized and memorialized in the development agreement. And then at that point in time, they have vested rights, and it's a matter of getting final plat approvals on those things. Yeah, red lines and everything like that.
So they have vested rights with the conceptual.
You read the requirements of conceptual approval versus the requirements for preliminary approval of the MPDO, and they're almost identical.
The biggest difference is, especially on the planning commission level, is that at preliminary approval, we have to compare with the two development.
Yes. So there has to be, that's where my point is, at some point in time, this development agreement has to come into play, because if you think about what the developer has submitted, they've submitted an application, a narrative, some documents and stuff like that. It's a concept. The rubber really meets the road in the specifics of the development agreement. And so we need to get to that point at some point in time. I think I would give them credit in the sense that they are following a 3-step process that really probably should be a 2-step process. And we're at the first of the 3-step process. So, Keen, I would probably, when I say it's not ideal, I'm looking at that from a concept of both these approvals are the same, conceptual and preliminary. If you give them conceptual approval, subject to us getting a development agreement approved, I think that's very proper.
That's the one thing that one person was probably saying, like, this is just conceptual. We're even in the weeds yet. That's why we have the preliminary phases that we can really get in there, figure out what's going on.
So if we adopt this or approve this, and then we get the development agreement, and it has terms that are contrary to the MPDO, then what does that
Within what
leave
they've
us?
submitted in their conceptual application, then yeah, we point them back to their conceptual application and say,
Anyway,
you're
violating it.
well, yeah, you're overreaching. You're asking for too much. Let's go back to what we approved conceptually, and this is really what should be the working document that we should be putting into our development agreement.
Okay.
And the development agreement, that definitely needs to be concluded before.
Yes.
Just a couple of questions. Steve, have you done a full read on this document? Yeah. My issue is in a lot of the documents I've seen come in, and I understand what the MPDO is. I mean, Commissioner Campbell and I did a lot of work on it. And it is to make it much more flexible and ease of use for the developer. I agree with that. That is not what's holding me up on this document. What's holding me up on this document is even with that and the previous development agreements we have, it is dependent upon the plat when it's submitted, that it has to be within code. Your MPDO is part of code, but you can't have in your MPDO that it's an exception to your existing codes, which is some of the language in this document. So if this came out at the very end and said, whenever the plat is submitted, it will be subject to the codes of the city at that time, I'd be perfectly happy. That is not what this document says.
Dan, I'd probably disagree with you on that because I just don't think that can be feasible. If you're looking to modify our existing code through an MPDO process, how can you conceivably have compliance with the existing.
Well, in the MPDO, it gives you the ease of doing the different zones within the MPDO. That's in the language of our current ordinance. Right? Well, that one's not called out. Right now, it's R110 or 112. Well, 112.
Yeah.
Right.
And so how are you going to get anything smaller than that into an MPDO setting? Because you can't look to standards for an R16 or an R18 or an R16.
Okay.
So I don't know how, if our zoning rubric looked like St. George cities or some other more sophisticated cities zoning where we had all different layers of single family residential zoning, but we have quarter acre and we have half acre.
Okay, then my question is, does the city amend their ordinances, or do you try and do it all in this and give the developer the final say in their document? And I don't think you do that.
So, yeah, I don't think that's what this does, though. I think what this does, and I don't mean to debate here, Mayor, I apologize if I overstep my bounds, but I don't think that's what this does. I think what this does is says, we're going to amend it with the power vested through our code 1015C, which allows us to adopt an MPDO, and that's the overlay. Then they come forward with a development agreement that should match their overlay. And if it does, and we approve it, then that's what they build according to. And anytime they do their preliminary plats, it all has to comply with the development agreement, which complies with the MPDO. We look at that rather than the city ordinances that we have relating to zoning and density and so forth, because we've modified that here. That's my understanding of the process. Now, help me if I'm wrong.
On your setbacks, on your building heights, all of that. My recommendation would be you have your attorney read it before you vote this through. And give a legal opinion on what the language in the document. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And I did go through it in detail, painful detail, to be honest. But because it's not like reading a novel.
So Mayor, at this
I
point,
believe we actually have a motion.
you have a motion on
we
the
need to
table
take care of.
to table this item. And I can tell you the last one of these, I spent a ton of time in, and I've spent zero time in this. So my comfort level is pretty low at this moment. I would like more time to do that. So I would second the motion to table this item. That'll give council a lot longer to get very familiarized with this. It is it's probably it is the largest parcel of ground left to be developed. It is not something to quickly brush over. Let's make sure we have it right. And that's why I would second the motion.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on the motion to table that? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. All right, we'll move on then to discussion and possible item number 6, action on a nightly rental application submitted by Tyler and Skylar McCall, located at 22 West Center Street. Zoning is R112, recommended approval 5-0.
Mayor, we discussed this in our work meeting. I'd move that we approve item G6
I'll second that.
with
Staff comments.
staff comments.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, discussion and possible action, nightly rental application submitted by Thomas Lindell, located at 158 West Sunset.
Mayor, we discussed this one also, and I recommend that we approve it.
I would second the motion, Mayor. With that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Discussion and possible action on funding from Utah Permanent Community Impact Fund Board, CID.
Afternoon.
Okay,
This is 8 and 9 as well, right?
Yes.
okay, so we,
So do you need a formal motion from the council to pursue funding?
Not to pursue funding, but if we settle on something, then
Okay.
we would have to pursue the project. But we're not there.
So-
Deadlines are not until,
Just table and
yeah.
okay,
May I
so
make,
we table 8 and 9.
yeah, may I make motion to table items 8 and 9?
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 8 and 9 stand tabled then. Number 10, discussion and possible action on vote ratification ordinance, planning commission, and ordinance updating the chairperson when the chairperson is elected. That was voted on December 2nd with the
Mayor, I
call vote.
make a motion to ratify our vote, our phone vote.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, number 11, discussion and possible action on ordinance 1015C-6 MPDO density calculations, and ordinance adding density calculations, ERUs to general requirements of an MPDO.
Mayor, we've been working on this for quite a while. Planning Commission spent a lot of time. Joey cornered me right before this meeting, and there's a little modification he wants to point
You
out.
can scroll up. So we did change from the original one. This is a little bit of a change burning, so if you guys do it like that change, then that needs to be in the resolution. But it was one of the questions that I had, if we have anything more than 5,000 square feet. So basically, one of the things we call it 5,000 square feet. So yeah, 15,000.
Three.
So is that, just real quick, not to get, is that 5,000 square feet of living space?
Are you
Garage
talking lot size or livable?
It's only house. Like if you go down, there's some
There's
things.
a definition of
Yeah,
that.
the residential bathrooms, halls, closets, storage, utility rooms. That's what's.
Okay, okay.
Why are you suggesting that we change that?
So Gary, this was what I brought up last time is with, you could go in and build, they're building them all over where they build these. They're really a commercial building, even though they're in a residential zone, but they're, they've got 4 or 5 rental units inside of it. So that was to give a, like, if they're there, then what's that count for, right? So, and that's what they came up with, is every 5,000 square feet, that's another unit. And that gives us a basis to charge off of.
Okay, thank you. And then on exactly where we're at, there isn't much of a difference between a hotel and an apartment down below there. And yet you can get twice as many hotel rooms for the same ERU as you will in an apartment.
So there's less ERUs on the hotel because it's not a full hotel, is what they say.
Okay.
They could be sitting half the year. And also the other portion is that for the city to make money, we want them to cover apartments.
Thank you.
So we need to say something about that in the motion?
How are you gonna word it?
That's what I was thinking. I'd like to motion that we approve item 11, our MPDO density calculations with the addition of 5,000 square feet of home equals 1 ERU.
And each additional 5,000, well, anything over that is.
Anything over that is, yeah, up to 5,000 feet is 1 ERU. Anything over that is a second ERU. Or third, depending on how big it is.
Additional.
Every 5,000 square feet.
I second that.
Yeah, that was tentative.
We have a motion and a second. Everybody understand the motion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, discussion of possible action on impact fee facilities plan, impact fee analysis and ordinance, impact fee enactment.
Mayor, again, we discussed this in our work meeting at length. We had one conversation, one item that we had discussed making a modification to, which was in the area of responsibility of Councilman Cib.
Yeah,
on the
Parks
parks.
and Trails, I elected and I discussed, they proposed our Parks and Trails impact fee should be 6,600 and change, and we're at 4,300 and change now, and I kind of hit the middle, 5,500 even. So that's the only recommendation changing on that. So. And just for the reasons is, the level of service we have on parks right now for our 800 hookups basically at home is really high. And with the property, back to these density bonuses, as these developers build, if they would like to increase their number of homes, they would be building parks for us. And we will not be giving them a discount on the parking tax. So they'll be building parks. So I didn't see the need to charge the whole $6,600 for an impact fee. That's fine.
So you've got a motion.
I made a motion yet.
You had it?
We've already, it should be in there. We did that already.
I thought it was changed in the ordinance here.
I guess I made a motion.
Did you make a
I
motion?
don't think so.
I second the motion.
We haven't made it yet.
I don't think there's a motion made. I was given an explanation of what we did. Hey, I don't know at this point now.
I thought he did too.
I'm gonna stay all the way away from it. Councilman, you can handle it.
We need a motion.
Yeah.
So he can
Well, I'm
second.
looking, I want to go and see if that change was made in the ordinance that we have here.
Isn't that what we just had up?
Oh, is it in there?
No, it wasn't.
Then we need to,
It's not up.
See, that's.
well, it should be tables 4.6 from the IFA is the way the resolution is written, but if we're going to do that, then you have to, I think table 4.6 is the larger amount. .6, yes.
It does not appear to.
So we need a motion with that.
We wouldn't modify the impact fee analysis. We would in our adoption ordinance.
Could adopt at $5,500.
We would modify that. We would adopt everything in the impact fee analysis except for we would modify the impact fee for parks to the amount of $5,500.
You gonna make that motion? I'll make that motion. Mayor, I move that we approve the impact fee analysis with the modification to the parks impact fee to $5,500 per ERU.
Now we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Let's see, number 13, nope, 14.
Oh, we gotta do 13.
13, discussion of possible action on resolution fee schedule updating impact fees, adding a municipal construction hydrant meter rental fee, and adding water meter installation fees.
So Mayor, we discussed this. I think we've gone through all those items. I had brought up a concern with the water meter installation fee. It was proposed at, I not wear my glasses, $500 and something, right?
500, the proposed go to 650.
So, and my concern with that is that fee, and actually it's not, I don't think we have a water meter installation fee currently, right? Yeah, so it doesn't exist. And my point with that was we were charging $600 to purchase the meter and to install the meter. And the justification was for that, we've never charged, they said we haven't paid for that. But if you take our capital facilities plan and figure out that the meter is part of our infrastructure, so it's included in. So in essence, we're charging twice for that meter to the residents. So they're paying for it in their impact fee, and then they're paying for it when we go set it. So my point with that is I would have no issue charging them an installation fee. I just don't know if we should charge them $600 to go buy a meter that we're already paying for in the impact fee. So that was what I took as an assignment to review that. Completely up to the council on that item, but I would be more in line with charging $100 to go put a meter in. You know,
Problem is we get, right now we have to go 2 meters.
you don't
right?
have to.
How come?
Why do you have to install 2 meters?
Because the meter that we ultimately will use based on our last meeting is not the ones that are available. So we got to put something in.
Actually,
So-
Lance is actually putting the new meters in, the new plastic reads everything meter with the 3G
I was under the understanding they are not
Yeah,
available.
so
That's
that's-
the question. Are
That
they
was what
available?
was, that was what was presented to us. I asked Schultzens about this specifically. They said they've ordered them. They are not all in stock. So they had given Lance some adapter wires that go on them, and then they will. But what we got how many homes going in right now? Like 10, right? So we're gonna go set 10 meters and pull them back out and charge them for 10. Like who cares? By
Well,
the
as
time
long
it's
as we're
here-
pulling that money out of the impact fees, I don't have a problem with it. But if we're not, we haven't been historically. So
Well, all I'm saying is it's included when we do our analysis. Part of that is our infrastructure, right? In our infrastructure is that system we own until the backside of that meter. That's all part of it. So I'm just saying this item to me is that we're double charging for that. I would rather not charge again for the meter, the way I interpret it, and then charge them for an installation fee.
Well, and I think into what Keen's point is the fact that there is a possibility that we'll be changing these twice, and I think we talked about just making sure the fee covers two installations.
Why would?
Yeah.
So I'm fine. I just
I'm
don't.
with Ty on this one. It's not our residents' fault that we have to change the meter twice, so why make them pay for it?
And what are we talking about changing twice? Maybe 20 meters, maybe 50 meters on
Yeah,
the high side. There's
maybe,
800 in town. Like, we're
But
not changing
I
twice.
also talked with Schultz today, they're actually putting the brand new Sonata, is that the new?
Yep.
They're putting those on with the 3G reader on it right now. So they wouldn't have to change, we just have to go pull that.
So $100 is adequate?
Yeah.
What's that?
$100 will cover them.
I mean, it's two guys. If we paid guys, say higher wage, $50 an hour with their burden, that's $100. You can, in an hour, you can set a lot of these. So I think it's a fair, if it needs to be a little more, fine. I just didn't, the justification was given to me that we were purchasing the meter and that and installing it twice. That's where my problem was at, I think.
So do we want to make that be an installation fee? And each time there's an install or change, it's another fee?
What's it? Well, it's listed as water meter installation fee. I think I would just,
That's on the building.
So this is, right, so
Yep.
do we say, do we have a water meter installation, so each time it would be the same amount?
you put it in at one time. Homeowners
One-
don't. They
one-time
wanna put in a
installation
meter, and
fees
That's
on
all in
that.
the city.
Correct, but if we have to put something temporary and we send someone out again, are you saying we should just, that fee will cover it, whatever that fee needs to cover?
My point is what? I don't understand why we're setting a temporary meter. And if we have to go set a temporary meter on 20 units in town, so what? If we're waiting for our new system to come in and then we're going to go reset 20 meters with humans on there and the cost is $2,000. I mean, for me,
No,
I
I understand the meter side, I'm talking about the install side. We're gonna send someone out there to install it, and then later we gotta go back again. If you're saying, hey, but that's not the homeowner's fault, that
Yeah.
is the whoever, the supplier's fault, that they don't have the meters ready.
Or it's this, it's city's thing. On me personally, you buy a building permit, you pay the impact fees, water meter and settings in with it. Personally, I'd like to see that whole water meter installation line gone, because if I buy a building permit, pay the impact fee to hook up the water,
That's
I don't want to pay another fee to hook up to my meter. I mean, I thought that was.
Well, does the impact fee cover the
Impact-
install, everything?
yeah, because of how it's based.
Isn't that part of the impact? that
Well,
we pay for
so
with
no,
impact fee?
Keen, that's probably a good question. The impact fee would not, it's based off of our current right level of service. So it's not going to include the install of that. It's going to include the actual meter. The way that I interpret what we're reading there, because then the install would be separate.
Which is 500.
Because we don't get credit, you don't get credit for
The-
So-
Part of the issue, this is a two-part issue, outside of the dome installation, this is a two-part issue. On the current building permit, right, we're charging 500 for the installation, right? Because we've already got meters, so we're charging 500 for that. That line item has been omitted from the building. So part of what we're asking is to add the water meter installation line.
So we were charging it without it being on our fee schedule?
So this is a two-part issue. One, we need to add it to the building permit. Two, we need to decide a dollar amount. You see
So,
what I'm saying? So,
You know,
so
if it's me, I'm gonna
500
say, hey, let's leave water meter installation on there. That way the guys get paid to go set it. It gets set later, right? They go, or it gets set at the very first of it. The guys actually have to go to the job site, set that, so there's temporary water. They come in and pay their connection fees at that point.
Yeah, and when they get their
So,
building
well,
permit,
let's go back. Do we have another line item in there for water connection fee?
No.
So this is the item that is going to pay for that. Okay. So I would be completely fine with 150 bucks. If you wanted to add a little bit to it, I would be fine with that. 150
So
total.
currently charging 500.
Yeah, but our justification is we're paying for that meter, right? That's information that was given to me. So if that's the justification, I don't feel like that's correct.
So does the meter come to the impact fees, or is it we buying it with?
Every time. I don't know where we're probably taking them out of the water fund.
Historically, we have not been using impact
Right.
fees to pay for those. That's my understanding.
Okay, so if we're not using impact fees to pay for it, then I don't have a problem charging for the water meter. And if it's in the building permit, and this isn't another separate, we're already charging for it.
But
So when we buy water meters, we're not taking on them, they're taking out the water.
Building. Well,
then we need to lower what our impact fee is for the water.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They're paying a water impact
If the
fee
capital
of.
facilities plan talks about.
Oh, I don't have it.
A capital facility is metered. Be
Right.
installed in all new homes, and they use the cost of that in calculating the impact fee. And we either need to reduce the impact fee or keep it where it is and start paying for it out of.
That's what we need to
Yeah,
do.
so we're charging
That's what-
our proposals for $3,390 for a three-quarter inch meter impact fee. So, and keep in mind, that's not just for the meter, that's
Right,
the
yeah.
impact to the
Right.
system. But I just feel like my whole point is we're double dipping, we're charging up here and we're charging down here. So let's just charge an installation fee of 150 bucks, charge the impact fee, and then we can do our accounting to take it where it needs to come from.
That's what I agree with you. That's good.
That took a longer time than I thought it was going to.
Okay, we got a motion?
Yes, so Mayor, I
Yeah.
would make motion that we approve the fee schedule, updating the impact fees with the modification to the water meter installation fee that it would be changed to $150 installation.
second that motion. Go ahead, Gary.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on it?
Nope, we're
No.
just going to change the
We're gonna keep the
installation.
impact fees the same. We're gonna start paying for water meters out.
Oh,
Park is on that.
we already did that one, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
apart
because
from
we're on the
that-
fee schedule.
Oh, it's on the
Just want to make sure this is the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
5,500, yes. that is-
It's a
yes.
Yeah.
Combining trails with park and recs, yes. With that modification.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Let's see, discussion of capital facility plan, possible action.
So Mayor, this is the item that Alpha has been working on. We got this revised. It had to go back to them to get the storm drain updated, which is what we discussed earlier. And then that was sent back to whatever the company is that was doing our Lewis, yeah, that attorney firm. That's who it was sent back to, and they took that information, put it in. So I would make motion that we would approve the capital facilities plan update.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Public hearing.
We already had it on.
We did, but we didn't have the storm. That was a modification to the storm drain item. That was where the whole glitch was. They didn't include storm drain when we did it the first time.
Yeah, we have a public
Yeah.
hearing. Adopting our capital.
We'll have to table item
Yes.
14.
Yep, and then we need to have a public hearing on it scheduled for January. Yep, so we just need to table it. Mayor, I'd make motion that we table item 14, capital facilities plan update. And then we need to have that on our January agenda and a public hearing for that as well.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. 15, discussion of possible action on city council and planning commission annual meeting schedule.
It's in our backup materials. We can always change it if we need, but code requires to adopt it. So I move that we approve the city council planning commission meeting schedule.
This effective January.
January 5th would be the next meeting. Yes,
City council meeting.
correct.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. So anybody want to just toss out there what the order of the meetings will be?
Just sure I got it here. January 5, February, this is city council work meeting, January 5, February 2nd, March 2nd, April 6, May 4, June 1, July 6, August 3rd, September 7, October 5th, November 2nd.
I don't think that's what he wanted.
What I wanted was first and second, third.
Why did you cut me off
It
sooner?
was fun to listen
It
to.
was just really entertaining, wasn't
Nine?
it?
But what are you looking
So
for?
first Wednesday of the month is,
Work meeting.
second Wednesday of the month is,
Planning Commission.
third Wednesday of the month is,
City Council business meeting.
and fourth Wednesday of the month is.
Right? JUC.
But that's not on the schedule here.
We don't have to focus on it.
Okay.
All right. All right, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Discussion and possible resolution on the Washington County
No. city
Solid
council
Waste
meetings.
Representative appointment.
Missed whatever 16 is.
That's what we just did.
We did city council and planning
Oh,
commission. and we-
discussion of possible action, what's this one? City council meeting.
Yeah, our code says first
Oh,
Thursday,
oh,
this changes that.
Okay,
What do you mean? Yeah, I haven't.
If we approve it and have him,
I can,
Yeah.
apparently I just have not done so.
But there's sufficient notice to make the change. So.
Sure.
Yeah, I move we approve item 16.
second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve number 16. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now, number 17, Washington County Solid Waste District Representative appointment.
You, Mr. Step,
It has been,
you again?
I don't know, but
I move that we approve Justin Cib to represent city with the WCSWD appointment.
Washington County Solid Waste Department. I would second that motion.
That is the city council representative, right?
Yes.
We
Aye.
have a motion and a second then. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
So can I,
any
real
opposed?
quick, now that we're talking about Washington, just a quick second, so nobody will hear it from anybody but me. But they just voted for 50 cents a month increase per household on that. So, effective February 1st. You should probably get an email any day about that.
And there was a discussion that in our original contract number, Toledo was one of the cities that was supposed to be able to opt out by December. We actually changed the
On the blue
ordinance.
can,
So we're saying that our contract no longer reflects that. That we can opt out on the blue can. I went back and looked at it and I don't see it in there.
okay, yeah, Reverend.
but in our ordinance, we put that what?
The district won't honor that because it's not our contract.
About a year old now.
The district agreed to do that.
It's not in their contract with Republic or whoever's doing the,
It's not in our contract. But it's in our ordinance.
What about,
I was confused.
Someone has to look
we
into it.
We
definitely,
certainly do.
I think as you got appointed to that, you ought to take the bull by the horns and let's get that handled.
I talked to her.
Good.
So when we change the ordinance, should we make sure it's in contract?
I don't remember the timing of the contract versus the ordinance, but I believe that we adopted the ordinance to track the contract.
It's allowed to be opt-out. That's what I heard.
And it's a 10-year contract.
Yeah, have you reviewed they're telling you that it's not in the contract?
Yeah, and it's not a contract. But do they assure us that we reviewed the contract within inside the contract?
Maybe they set the wrong contract.
Councilman Sip's got a little work on his hands.
Mhm. Was it Republic that was here or was it the,
Trying to move on.
County.
Solid waste, Republic wasn't there, it was solid waste, it's through
It's solid
solid,
waste,
it's through
that
the
was who
Washington
had to do
County
it?
Solid Waste District, it wasn't. Yeah, Shane McDonald come out and Fay River both were here.
Can we pull the minutes on that meeting as well? Will that help us?
Probably, we could look it up, and I'll talk to
Yeah.
Fay.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why the contract wasn't replied.
We have taken a dance off of our agenda.
Yes, we have, sorry about that, Mayor,
But that really
we'll talk,
affects- that
yeah.
really affects
We need
utility
to
billing.
resolve that, but I'm not sure this is the place to do that. Am I wrong?
Nope, you're right.
All right, item number 17, let's see, we already voted on 16.
We're on 8.
And we voted on 17, so 18 is the same thing with Southwest Mosquito Abatement Representative appointment.
Councilman Chaves, are you willing to maintain that?
I am.
Mayor, I'd move that we approve, or that we appoint Councilman Chaves to the Southwest Mosquito Abatement Representative.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 19, Hurricane Valley Fire Special Services District Representative appointment.
So, Keen, you've been on that.
And I'd like to continue with that.
Continue and sit on it as the mayor.
Yes.
Mayor, I'd move that we, I've lost, appoint Councilman, well, Mayor-elect Ellsworth to the Hurricane Valley Fire Special Service District.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Discussion and possible action, Mayor, Ash Creek Special Services District, Mayor and Council Representative to the Administrative Council.
So Councilman Ellsworth, that'll be you, and then Mr. Cib, Councilman Cib, are you?
Yep.
One of them? Okay. Anybody else want to make motions? Okay. Mayor, I'd make motion that we approve, or appoint, Mayor-elect Ellsworth and Councilman Cib, onto the Ash Creek Special Service District.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item 21, electing a mayor pro tem for 2022.
So I have a question about that. Is there wisdom in holding off on that until the January meeting?
Get your
After we
other-
put a new
The other council,
city council member
I think so.
seated and then make that motion?
Unless you tell us you're not gonna be at that January meeting.
I'll be at the January meeting.
Okay, then I think.
It's gonna be a show up.
Yeah, I move that we table this item.
I would second it.
Okay, motion to count, what are we doing? Table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, I'm sure. Number 22, discussion on ratifying the appointment of Afton Moore as Tocqueville City Manager.
I motion we approve item 22.
I would second the motion.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. Any discussion on that?
I don't have a
We're done. I resolve that we get a resolution made.
Okay. I can do that. And is that why we're holding off on, are we making the resolution? We need to have resolution appointing a new treasurer and recorder.
It's not on the
It's
agenda.
not on the
It's
agenda.
not on the agenda, that's what, but that needs to be done.
Yeah, let's do that in January.
So can we approve this in,
This week, yeah.
yeah, let's approve this one. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So I just need to make sure I missed something there. We need to get a resolution to Dana that allows for us to have a city manager, right? That was the holdup we had.
That's what I thought we just voted for.
We have an ordinance for city manager. We didn't have an ordinance for city administrator. Okay, but let me also make a suggestion too. We normally, as a point of process, we do resolutions for appointment of these individuals to outside boards that are outside of the city. We don't necessarily need to have a resolution in appointing to our own internal positions. So Afton, as the city manager, the city clerk, we just have to make the formal motion to appoint. And in those positions, it does indicate that the mayor appoints with the advice and consent of the council. The motion would be motion to authorize, to consent to mayor appointing acting more as city manager. That type of. So I guess to answer your question, Dan, I don't know if we need to have resolutions for internal appointments. We normally do it for outside boards because they want to see. We sign them off and we give them so they know this person, until they get a new resolution, is going to be the person on their board. So.
But Afton's the city manager, right? That's all I need to know.
You guys just moved to a point, or?
I just double checking.
Well, to ratify the prior appointment, I think is what it is. So.
We got it.
So do we or do we not need a motion? No, we already
We already
did.
did. We already voted.
We voted. Okay, passed.
Whether it's done, we've done it.
I hadn't voted on
Oh, you hadn't?
it. No, but I vote aye. Hey, hey.
Did you vote on it?
Yes.
Okay, good
So we're
enough. Motion carries.
Yes.
That was rough.
All right, that concludes the business section of our meeting. We have National Wreaths Across America, December 18th. That's this coming Saturday at the cemetery at 10 a.m. They've got the flags all out there now. The wreaths will be put out where the flags are coming. I think we have 108 wreaths, I believe, that landed here yesterday morning. So we have those in our possession at this point. And it's a great opportunity to honor veterans. So go on out. Cemetery at 10 o'clock Saturday morning. That concludes the business of this meeting. We are going to have, looks like a closed session, executive session. Well, there's a subject for it. Do we have or do we not?
I have nothing.
We do, okay. Anybody need it? All right.
Hang on a second.
I would accept a
Just
motion.
minute here.
Wait a minute.
Oh, no, we don't need to at this stage. We're okay.
Okay, good enough.
I motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I'd second that motion.
Have a motion, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 7:25.
Oh,